Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets, checking in here from the 901 Memphis, Tennessee, 38117 on a balmy Thursday night. And I got some beef with what happened to me tonight that we'll get to here in a few minutes. Uncle Buck, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Hello, Buckets. Happy to be here. It's a beautiful day in paradise here in northeast Mississippi, here in Tippah County, you know, where every day above ground is a good day, you know? And sometimes I just have to remind myself that because sometimes I feel like it's uncomfortable being above ground sometimes.
Yeah, so to our faithful listeners out there and watchers on YouTube, if you see Uncle Buck get up and leave here in a minute because I gave him the old signal, it's because he has a 2-year-old wandering around in the background, acting a fool, not wanting to go to bed, raising sand, but we do love us some Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I could have molded one out of clay, I could not have done a better job than what the good Lord gave us in my firstborn biological child, Jenny, and my second one, honestly, you know. But I'll be honest with you, this week I've had just times where I've texted my dad and I'm just like, listen, I'm about to find the line between parenting and abuse here, you know, like how far can I take this before they resent me and they have daddy issues, you know? Like I've just really struggled with that, and I don't want to be a hands-on dad in that way. That's how we were raised, you know. We turned out okay, but sometimes I feel, you know, I've realized what my dad meant when he said, this hurts me more than it hurts you. I completely and totally get it. And we're in that age now to where I'm just like, I guess I'm going to have to figure out a method to, you know, to have some discipline in this house.
Look, I remember times when my brother would call my dad and be like, I'm so sorry for whatever I did when I was 2 and 3 years old, because this is awful. And I have the world's best nephews. He's got all boys. I love them to death. They're great kids. But I can remember being in the living room with Dad and him fielding that phone call and being like, it'll pass. It'll pass. But Clark just being like, look, I'm so sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry.
You know, me and Haley both growing up had really good heads on our shoulders. You know, we were not troublemakers. And so if our daughter and our son and any of our kids get that from us, I think we'll have good kids eventually. But it's getting them to adulthood without scarring them, which is the problem. Because I feel like they're going to turn out to be good kids. They're sweet kids. They've got good souls. They've got good personalities. They're fun. But bedtime's getting rough. So
wait, for you or for them? Because I'm sure when you go lay down, you probably just crash after dealing with youngins. Yeah, yes.
I mean, listen, bedtime. There's 2 different bedtimes in this house. It's the kids' bedtime, then it's the adult bedtime. I've never struggled with adult bedtime. Never. I'm extremely fortunate. My wife is the lightest of sleepers. You know, she's checking my pulse about 2:00 in the morning to see if I'm still alive. That's how hard I'm sleeping. So.
I mean, same, man. Like I can sleep if and my family always gives me a hard time. They're like, it's bad weather in Memphis. You gonna stay up? I'm like, no, because I'm gonna sleep through it. And if it's my time to go, I'll just wake up in glory land and I ain't gotta worry about it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, what can you do really? Now, my views have changed a lot since I've become a Power Ranger, and I actually have to. I have the rest of the community in mind when I watch the weather now, because I know whether it hits me or not, you know, I'm probably gonna have to work. And so my views as a kid, as before this job, was just like, if it gets me, it gets me. You know, what am I? I'll get in an interior room. I'll, you know, stay away from windows. But if a tornado hits this house, I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen, you know?
I have been at your house and woke up and been like, Drew's going to get it. If it's storming outside, like, Drew's got this. I'm fine. I'm going back to bed.
Somebody will call me if the power's out. I'm just going to put it through that way. So, but man, we've had a good week. We've had a busy week. And we're going to tell you about our weeks in our first segment we call Buck's Best and Beef of the Week, where we rarely talk sports and we just talk life, and we tell each other and the rest of the world, both listeners of this show, the best part of our week and the beef of our week. So I'll set it up, Rusty. You knock it down. What is the best part of your week so far?
You know, Drew, it's been my best before, and I hate to reuse it, but it's just such a big part of my life right now, and I can't believe I waited this long to get just enamored with Game of Thrones. Maggie and I are through 2 seasons. We've started the third. Just saw the first episode of the 3rd season, and it's just getting wilder, man. Just so many characters, new characters, folks getting killed off. Jon Snow running around north of the wall with the wildlings. You've got Arya's on the countryside on the lamb now. You've got the 2 youngest Stark kids. You thought they were burnt to a crisp. Oh, no, they are not. They're with Hodor and the other wildling. It's just a wild – there's just so much stuff going on. And like you said on the show, you told me numerous times, like, yes, it's fantasy, but it's a straight-up just political thriller draped in fantasy, and I couldn't be more enthralled with it. Like, Maggie and I will hang out. We'll get done eating dinner, and I'm like, hey, you want to go watch Game of Thrones? Because I can't not watch it now.
You know, you got ideas of what your relationship's going to be like early on. You know, you're hot and heavy, but no, it's just all Game of Thrones. Like,
yeah, I'm like the Dave Chappelle meme. Like, you got any more than Game of Thrones?
You know, I'm not the kind of person to gloat, really, or say I told you so. I don't ever want to be the one that I don't ever look at my wife and just be like, told you so. Like, I'm not that way, but I do appreciate being told when I'm right. And so I would like to leave the floor open to you, give you an invitation to step into the spotlight here and just say those 3 words.
Drew, you might not have been wrong about Game of Thrones.
Oh, I'm right. That's right. I know what that means. So I'm glad you like it. I felt like I properly described it to you when I told you, don't think of it as fantasy. Think of it as a political drama in a make-believe world. And that is what that show is. It is coming at you from 8 different angles. It's my favorite part about it is, yes, the political aspect to it is great, but the fantasy allows you to actually like teleport into a different space, and you put your phones down, and it is like an experience. You feel like you're in a different world. There's nothing that ties you, or there's no parallels that you could draw to like current political tensions, anything in life now. It's a totally turn your mind off of America and the United States and Earth and go to Westeros and see what's going on there, you know?
Yeah, and it's so
and they're
well
just as
casted.
messed up as we are, you know?
I mean, they are, but it's so perfectly casted. The actors are incredible. You know, outside of Peter Dinklage, it was a lot of like up-and-comers and people that were just really, you know, catching their break and they've gone on to bigger things, but like, it's just so good. And like, I hate some of these people so much. And then I'm so endeared to some of them. But I know not to get too deep one way or the other, because it's likely going to change or they're going to die. So it just is what it is.
Right. I mean, you're in for a wild ride. I'm not going to tell you another thing about it. I'm just going to go into my best of the week. Yeah. So it was my best of the week, the anticipation of mine and Haley's week. And so my best of this week is just a recap to let everybody know we had an amazing time. We went to Memphis. We saw Nate Bargatze at the FedEx Forum, and it was great. It was 10 out of 10. My kids say, because they think there's a difference, and it's funny, it's kind of just been an inside joke with me and my wife. They'll say, Mama, your food's 10 out of 10, 12 out of 12. And I just want to be like, same thing, bud, you know, but whatever. And so, 10 out of 10, 12 out of 12. That was the Nate Bargatze show. We got there early. We went to Ghost River where Rusty and I and Haley and Maggie went one night before the Grizz game, before the Zebo Jersey retirement game. We went back to Ghost River and just hung out. Me and Haley. It's just what the doctor ordered. We laughed. We got to our hotel in East Memphis. We were tired. We slept in. But better than Nate Bargatze. Memphis folks, y'all are going to listen to this and be like, yeah, duh. Sunrise Memphis Cafe. We went to the one in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee, because we were going to the Bass Pro Shop like a tourist. We got the Three Amigos breakfast tacos. 10 out of 10, 12 out of 12. Let me tell you. Chorizo, potatoes, eggs, pico, She got avocado because she likes to mess stuff up. That's perfectly good. Incredible. Those breakfast tacos may have been better than Nate Bargatze. We may the next Memphis trip. We may just go eat go a couple of days just so we can eat breakfast a couple times. And so, we went there. We did go full tourist, and we went to Bass Pro. I'm wearing the hat. Yeah. Listen. We've grown up going to Memphis our whole lives. I've been to Bass Pro several times. Haley had been once before because that's where my sister got proposed to. Because let me tell you what, if there's nothing
says romance like Johnny L. Morris.
there's one thing that signifies a start to a healthy marriage is getting proposed to at the top of Bass Pro. So,
where'd you get proposed to? At the top of the pyramid? Oh, in Giza? Nope, Memphis, Tennessee.
yeah. And so we just went, and we didn't have the kids, but we still are always thinking of the kids. So we showed back up at home with a sack full of goodies. Everybody got a Bass Pro hat and a shirt, and I mean we went full tourist. So we left there. We went to the outlet mall, the Tanger Mall in South Haven.
Tanger.
And just came home. No, it's Tanger.
Oh God. Oh,
what are the little the mini oranges?
No, I get it, but I'm just
are those tangerines?
It's Tanger
No.
outlets.
Yeah, it's either tangerines or the Tanger outlet. It's one or the other. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you not know how to read?
I do. No. I went to public school in the state of Mississippi. We graduated. Went to the same high school. I mean, come on.
It can't be one of each. It's got to be.
Listen, this is English. No, this is English. We make it up as we go. It can be tangerines and it can be the Tanger outlets. There are no rules when you're speaking English.
I mean, you're right about that.
Boom.
But you're right about making it up as you go. But I'm right about.
Put in the comments that it's pronounced Tanger and not Tanger for my moronic co-host, and we're going to move on.
Yeah. So, just a great weekend. We had a good weekend. We came home, and it's been absolute pandemonium, balls to the wall, picked up exactly where we left off and more since we got home. But we had it. It was fun while it lasted. It was the perfect recharge that Haley and I needed. Just time, just me and her. It was perfect.
Love that, man. Glad y'all got that time away. And it was funny. We were like two ships passing in the night, like Dolly and Kenny. Like I was heading out towards Corinth, and y'all were in Memphis. And it was it was a good time.
We should have just came and stayed at your place.
I mean, yeah, y'all could have crashed over here in East Memphis, man. It'd been great.
So, all right. Give us your beef of the week, Buckets.
I was talking about this off air. I don't know if I've used this recently. If I have, I apologize to our listeners. I'll be more creative next week. I'm just angry.
Yeah,
and I have
you've heard this before.
Yes, I'm always angry about something. But I'm sitting outside waiting on my esteemed colleague here. I'm enjoying a beverage on my back porch. I got my speaker hung up, and I'm listening to Jason Isbell, and I've got my citronella candle going, and it's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except, like, I don't understand now that I'm older. Why am I getting bit by these freaking mosquitoes so much more? I can't even sit outside for 5 minutes without 38 mosquito bites. Like I've got a citronella candle burning. I can feel the heat on my legs, and I'm like smashing mosquitoes on my arms and on my legs. I don't know what I need to eat or what I need to stop eating or what I'm doing, but good Lord, it is awful.
I told you. Listen, you eat too clean, brother. They don't bother me. I'm 50% bacon grease in these veins.
I guess so, man. I eat all the garlic. I do all the things, but like, I apologize to our listeners. I'm just angry about this. Like, I cannot believe how bad. Again, first world problem. Like I said previously, I live near the ocean. There was an ocean breeze. Yeah, I don't get that here in East Memphis. And
I am just talked about this last week.
I know. I'm just miserable. I'm absolutely miserable once again. And it's going to continue to be my beef until I figure out something that makes them go away.
Well, try my method. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, maybe
I mean, maybe. That's all I got to say. Just maybe. So, like I said, it's been a good week here. It's been a crazy week. I guess my beef of the week is just a lack of silence a little bit. You know, I've said I love that we have the Loud House. You know, I love that that people, my kids' friends, want to come to our house. My wife is an incredible host. She gets on the kids' levels. They're currently dancing and singing Moana songs in the living room as we speak. Mm. But today, with the 2-year-old and a 3-month-old that wasn't quite ready to go to sleep yet, I hit a wall about 15 minutes before the show started, and I was just like overwhelmed, just sensory overload, to where I was just like, I sat down and I just looked at Rusty and I just went, and I'm just like, this is the quietest it's been. But that's only because at the time she was crying in the other room instead of right beside me, you know? So I was like, so it was just like, and now the Lord has shone down on me right now, because it is the quietest it's been in, like, I don't know, since we got back home from Memphis. And so right at showtime, it's been great. Also pro, you can see behind me. Let's set the table real quick for everybody. It's 8:22 Central Standard Time on Thursday night. Game 1 of the NBA Finals is on behind me. And so I'm also just glad that the NBA Finals is back. We're going to get into that in the second segment. We'll get at that in the second segment. In the third segment, we're going to hit a potpourri of other topics. You know, we're going to post-mortem both of our baseball programs since our seasons are over. We're going to talk just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a country song over here. You're just going to get what you get. Yeah. As Zach Brown Band said it best. So before we hit the commercial break here, I do want to talk to you about my mom. My mom's name is Vicky, and she is a certified public accountant. She has 25 years of experience, and she offers accounting services, income tax, payroll preparation. But right now, she really wants us to talk about QuickBooks. And so if you or anyone that you know and love has a small business that does their own books in-house, and you use QuickBooks, or you would like to use QuickBooks, give Vicky Gann a call. She has been a QuickBooks expert for many years. She can help you get started or help you troubleshoot any problem that you've got. So give Mom a call. Her name is Vicky Gann, CPA. Her phone number is 662-415-6446. That is 662-415-6446. Or you can email her at vickygannCPA@gmail.com. That's VICKIGANNCPA@gmail.com. Let her know that you heard about her from the $2 Sports Show, and it'll really make our day, and it'll really make her day. So give her a call if you need any help, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break.
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays with, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. Right. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, but now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side. Yeah. His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward. Right. Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is are his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is, now when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Who do you need to step it up? Outside of David Jones, I think David Jones is David Jones.
I don't think you need him to step it up because he's been performing.
Yeah, he's David Jones. Outside of him, he's fine.
I think Quinterly needs to play better.
In what way? He's facilitating the ball well. What do you I don't
2 at 12 from the field's not cutting it.
It's not great. It's not great.
And I don't need a runner 3 from the top of the key with 3.5 seconds left.
Is Virginia the game where Jordan Brown is going to cook? Those dudes aren't looking to run the ball.
Cook what? Dude, I thought he was going to have a freaking night. He came out with that fresh cut. lined up, and then literally within the first 15 seconds, missed a wide open layup, and then picked up 2 fouls right away.
I feel real lied to because I thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy.
Didn't think it did anything for you.
Well, I think
we all thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy, and we are getting that in David Jones.
I'm not even getting 20 or 10 minutes out of the guy.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show. You can catch that show, our show, obviously, the Anthony Sane Show, Daily Grind, so many other great shows on this network. Night Court, the new one with Brevin Knight, Rob Fisher, phenomenal show. Great insight from some NBA legends. All over at bluffcitymedia.co. Join the Discord while you're there. $5 a month gets you access to all of those great content creators. And somehow they lump us in there. So $5 a month gets you in there. Check it out, bluffcitymedia.co. Well, Uncle Buck, we've come to the part of the show where we always talk about NBA. And we better hope that Dallas Mavericks fans have a short memory like I do, since I repeated my beef from last week. And they'll watch this one and they'll flush this one and go to game 2. Because if this holds like it is now, and again, faithful listeners, we're recording this on Thursday night while it is in the second quarter, and Porzingis is putting on a freaking show. But we'll talk about the series as it goes. Drew, the couple things that I wanted to get to about the series is I kind of put in our show doc that Boston wins if, and Porzingis is kind of stealing my thunder here, and then Dallas wins if. So we'll start with Boston. What does Boston have to do to maintain what they're doing currently to Dallas and win this series?
Well, I started the week off with Luke on Tuesday, and he asked a similar question, or it led to this question. And my answer to him was Boston wins if Kristaps Porzingis is awesome. And that was very much up in the air. I mean, tonight he came off the bench. He was cleared. He hasn't played since the first series of the playoffs. He's 7'3" and had a muscular strain, which is always super tricky to come back from, especially at that height. And so, yeah, that was up in the air. And given Luka and Kyrie and how much of a killer Luka has been this year in close games, I thought that Boston needed to have Jalen, Jason, and Porzingis all be really good, with the X factor being Porzingis. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, catching up, watching checking the score every so often, looking at the box score, I'd have never thought that Kristaps Porzingis would be this good. Currently, there's 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Porzingis has got 15 points on 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the free throw line. And you compare that to Luka, who is 5'11" from the field, which isn't terrible, 1 of 5 from 3, 1 of 2 from the line, or 12 points. He's negative 14 in the game so far. Kyrie's negative 22. And so Porzingis is the X factor, and that's shown to be true. So, that was honestly, you can go back and listen. This is not revisionist history. I said it Tuesday. Yeah. Porzingis is the X factor. I just didn't think he had it in him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what my lead-in was going to be, is that Porzingis had to be big in this series because, Dallas has size and Dallas can play. They can, bang down low. And if they didn't have Porzingis, Boston's going to be in trouble. They started Al Horford tonight and they said it was simply just a rhythm thing. Well, Porzingis has found his rhythm off the bench coming into the game and absolutely tearing it up. And so if this trend continues, then it's going to prove Uncle Buck to be a very smart man on the Daily Grind on Tuesday. And that's Porzingis has made all the difference. If you go to the other side, floor, it's Dallas. Dallas for me it all goes through Derek Lively, because he had a monster series against Minnesota, and when he's healthy and he's coming off that bench, he is making some big plays for Dallas. He's getting rebounds, he's running the floor really, really well, and so his bench production is going to have to be big, particularly tonight in game 1 if they're going to make a way to come back. I know he's been nursing the neck sprain, concussion, head injury, whatever it was that was formally diagnosed from when Naz Reid came down with that knee, WWE style in the back of his brain. Right. But for me, it's Lively. Lively's the difference maker. And tonight he's played 8 minutes, hadn't even taken a single shot yet. And so they've got to get the ball to Derek Lively. Daniel Gafford's is a great post player, but Lively's been bigger in these playoffs. Dallas just got to figure something out, because right now they're like the Adrian Bronner gift that's so famous. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
Right. And it's home field advantage is a real thing in the playoffs, especially in a place like Boston, where it's known to be pretty chaotic there. They are. I was listening post game. This is the 71st home NBA Finals game that's been played in Boston. They know how to handle a finals game. It's incredible. Yeah. And so their historic past, it kind of lays the ground for everything that they do in the future, and they know how to handle these situations. Jalen and Jason Tatum have been in the finals before. In the year, I'm sorry, I'm getting them mixed up, but they were in the finals 2 years ago against Golden State, a couple games, and so you would think that they've learned something from that. Jason Tatum was not good in that series, and so you've got to think that you hope, if you're a Boston fan, that they learned something from that, and that they grow from it, and that this is their year to knock it off. I've said it before. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Like, it's home court advantage. They know how to handle it. Boston's a hostile place. They're not going to give you any slack. And then, two, the Celtics have been sitting there for a week now listening to the chatter, right? Oh, Boston fails on the big stage. Boston can't win on the big stage. Jason Tatum gets small in the biggest moments. Boston's biggest weakness is they're soft. Like, so many things have been said about them, and they sat there and listened to him for a week. So I'm not super surprised they came out and flexed, but it's early, right? Like, Game 6, I was listening to Chris Vernon's show, and it registered when he was talking about it. Game 6 is June 20th. So we've got a lot of basketball left over the course of this month. And so, like, if it gets to a Game 6, they'll be playing towards the end of this month. So this is early on. But Boston is showing that they got tired of listening to the noise. They're stepping up and making big plays. And so far, they're jumping out to the big lead. I did see on Twitter earlier today, it was funny. It was a picture of a crowd in Slovenia, and it was just raucous, just a packed house. And somebody tweeted and said, this is the crowd that Luka was playing in front of when he was 16. You really think these Boston fans and their Subarus are going to throw him off his game?
I don't necessarily think that home crowds, I think they're more important for the home team than for the away team. Yes, it can get on top of you. Yes, it can get loud. But look, Kyrie's been in the Final Four, and Luka doesn't strike me as a guy that's ever been fazed by any moment ever. He, like you said, he was 16 playing in Yugoslavia or wherever,
Slovenia, Russia,
Serbia. Yeah, I mean, all those Eastern European countries when they had dang flares in the crowd. So, yeah, I mean, it's not anything, but I do think it helps the home team. It's comfortable. And especially for, and for your Jason Tatum thing, your Jason Tatum point, which I agree with, he sat around and looked at this. What also hurt him was that it was the comparison for the upcoming series being Luka, who in every big moment this postseason has answered the bell every single time. You look at the path to get to the finals for both teams. The Eastern Conference was just a graveyard that Boston just walked through. Dallas fought. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Thunder, who was the 1 seed, and then they beat the Timberwolves, who just beat the Nuggets.
Defending champs.
Yeah, and beat them in 5 games. And so there's a lot from both sides that you can nitpick, facts here and there or narratives here and there. But now, tonight is the night where you put it to paper, you actually perform after hearing all this. And at halftime, the Celtics are up 21 points.
Yeah. Cruising. And so, again, it's early, a lot of basketball left. Luka, if anything, he's proven that he can light it up. Kyrie, so far in the playoffs, has been scoring about 8 to 12 or so in the first half and then cooking in the second. So there's a lot of basketball left, and a lot of things are going to change over the course of this game. But, again, I'm just glad to have basketball back, right? We had to sit around for a week without it because those series wrapped up early. I think it's going to be a good finals matchup. I think it's just kind of knocking the rust off. And Boston, again, is very hostile. They were ready for this, and they were just tired of the noise. I'm sure the fans and the players both got to take a listen to that all week long about how Boston can't win the big game. And here they are flexing in a big game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But the beauty about the NBA Finals and the NBA playoffs is you've got to play best of 7. Yeah. And Boston's shown in this playoffs that they're going to lose a game that they probably shouldn't.
Yeah,
so
100%.
We're going to see.
It could be tonight. We'll see. Let us know if we were right or wrong in the comments here on YouTube. Appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging out with us while you're here. Make sure you hit that subscribe and that notification button so you can know any of these great shows drop and come in. But we're going to stick with the NBA for a bit. Drew, some weird happenings with that Lakers job, which to me, there's not enough money to go be LeBron's coach because the minute he gets tired of it, he's going to run you out of town. And so late yesterday, it was all JJ Redick this, JJ Redick that. We're going to be JJ Redick's going to be the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, according to Shams. And then this morning we wake up to a Woj bomb, and it's that Dan Hurley, UConn, back-to-back national champ, is going to be the next Lakers coach. I've been thinking about it a lot today. I got more questions than I do like definitive thoughts about it, and so I want to get your take on it first. But if I'm Dan Hurley, I don't know that I want that job.
Dan Hurley turned down Kentucky. He had his pick of any college team he wanted, and he chose to stay at UConn, and for a good reason. I mean, he's got keys to the kingdom over there, and he's won 2 consecutive NCAA tournaments. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you? However, you look at his personality is the one that's kind of strikes me. If you tell me that you want the best basketball coach, then Dan Hurley's on my short list.
Sure.
But it's the pairing of NBA players with Dan Hurley, because Dan Hurley is one of those people that is known to be kind of tyrant-ish. He will dress you down. He will whip you into shape, and you're going to play his brand of basketball, and you're not going to really argue about it. And that's the aspect of Dan Hurley in Los Angeles in particular that's kind of a head-scratcher. And so I've got a lot of different thoughts on it, but the first thought was like, how does it work with Anthony Davis and LeBron in particular?
Yeah, because he's been a diva and ran off some good coaches. He even had his coaches picked, and he still ran them off. I don't know that there's enough money that you could pay me to go coach LeBron. He's one of the best players, one of the greatest players all time. But I just he's difficult. And I don't know if I'm Dan Hurley, I've got the keys to the kingdom. I can have any recruit that I want right now in college basketball. UConn is going to back up the armored truck. And I saw Anthony Sane flexing on Twitter a little bit earlier, and maybe he's right. If he can parlay this into a historic college basketball contract, and maybe that's what he's trying to do, then good on him. Go get your money. I don't know that use it where there's smoke, there's fire. So there's some rumors there. His wife's in LA right now talking to the Bus family, but I just don't know why you would do it, man, because you're killing it. And I get, so he's accomplished everything he could possibly accomplish in college basketball, a three-peat notwithstanding. Is there ever a good podcast host would look this up, but I don't think there's ever been a three-peat back-to-back college basketball national champ. I know there's been some repeats.
Oh, I'm sure those old John Wooden UCLA teams probably had one or two,
Maybe, but still.
But they were the first team to repeat since the Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer, Al Horford Florida teams. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it's an incredible feat. And I don't know that I really buy. I mean, if his agent is Jimmy Sexton, he will find any leverage to get as many extensions as possible. But how much more leverage can you get for a college basketball coach to have back-to-back tournament championships?
Yeah.
And Kentucky calling you. Know, if that doesn't get you if UConn is not because I can guarantee you the University of Connecticut is not haggling over pennies with Dan Hurley. They're giving him what he wants.
Sure.
So
they better be.
But at what time do you quit negotiating? If you're UConn, it's just wait, come on now, really? If you want to go to the NBA, you got to go to the. I mean, we can't stop you from going to the NBA. It's my argument with Lane Kiffin. It's I can say that Ole Miss currently is better than Florida, the job, or Auburn, or whatever. I can make these arguments. But if Lane Kiffin comes to me and says, hey, I want to go coach the Oakland Raiders, it's just all right, well, good luck.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And so, especially because a historic franchise like the Lakers, but I don't know how you can sit there. And I guess money talks and po folks walk, and I've been walking my whole life, but
got holes in my shoes.
I mean, that's it. But I guess ego maybe aside, like I don't understand how you can watch the Lakers in the dumpster fire that coaching job has been since LeBron's gotten there,
right?
And be like, man, I want to be a part of that. Like I want to go follow in the steps of Darvin Ham and Ty Lue and the Luke Walton. Like I want to go follow those guys, right? Because that clearly worked out so well, and you can follow that back to like the only destination LeBron has not run off people has been Miami, because Pat Riley was a big enough man to tell him, look, we're keeping Eric Spoelstra. Sorry about it. But everywhere else, he's run coaches off. And so I don't know how you sit in UConn where you've got, like you said, dude, like you talk about, he's sitting on the Iron Throne right now doing whatever he wants in college basketball.
Right.
Why do you want to go to a dumpster fire that is the Lakers, who in the reality is, like, they've got aging superstars. Everybody has championship windows. I think the Lakers are looking in the rearview mirror at theirs.
Well, let me play devil's advocate to that, because I do want to give a little credit to the Lakers if they make this hire. And the credit goes to the GM and the Buss family. Pelinka and Mrs. Buss. It's Jeannie Buss.
Jeannie Buss, yep.
Yeah. And so, to me, if they hire Dan Hurley, they have made a move without considering LeBron's feelings. And so that, to me, is a step in the right direction. You know, LeBron continues to sign these one-year deals and kind of has held this franchise at his mercy. It is no coach has any claim to anything for the Los Angeles Lakers or for the Cleveland Cavaliers as long as LeBron is there. It is LeBron's team. LeBron makes all the decisions here, even to the point to where I believe that LeBron told Shams that JJ was going to be the coach, because Shams is also represented by Clutch. And all LeBron's news always filters through Shams. And so I believe that news came from the Lakers camp, from LeBron's camp, trying to urge this along. His podcast co-host, I want him to be my coach. And so I think that if they make this move, they are forward thinking, and they've done this a couple of times in the last few years when it's come to like trade deadline moves. You know, they've not made the huge move. They've done stuff around the edges, long-term view past LeBron. They don't want LeBron to walk and them have nothing. And that's kind of the move I feel like they're making if they go and hire Dan Hurley. And that's the reason why the report said that they're looking at a multi-year, huge money contract, because they're telling Dan Hurley, like, listen, this is not Darvin Ham. This is not, Luke Walton. This is yours for the past LeBron. We don't expect LeBron to be here for 1, 2, 3 more years, but you're our 5-year guy, and we'll back you. And if they do that, then I've gained a little bit of respect for him, because he's had them over a barrel ever since he walked in the door there in L.A. And all they've got to show for it is an asterisk trophy, a COVID bubble.
In the bubble. And I don't know that LeBron's fully going to be capable of allowing it to happen, because he's a control freak. He controls everything, right? Even his image, and even like talking about Kyrie today, he was talking about how he's mad that he's not his running mate anymore, or whatever. Right. Like it's all, like, again, he's probably going to come out tomorrow and say he saw this coming the whole time, that Porzingis is going to go off. But anyway, like, it will be the coaching job of the century, though. I give it to Dan Hurley if they're thinking maybe he's got some college experience, maybe he can get Bronny up to speed and be an NBA player. And if he can, like, kudos to him, man. But that's a tough ask.
That's the train of thought. If I'm Dan Hurley, if I'm Dan Hurley and they're telling me that we are drafting Bronny James to keep LeBron happy, your job is to develop him the way you develop all your other college people, I'm not taking that job.
I'm staying in Connecticut. Thanks.
I am coaching my team the way I coach my team.
100%. And I'm not going to go after some kid who's not that good, not big enough to be an NBA player, who's clearly just a legacy.
He'll be fine.
I mean, he I don't know, man. Like,
fine.
Even
I said fine.
At most, like, fine is probably his ceiling.
A Grizzlies comparison here I saw on I think it was The Ringer. I was looking through their draft guide, and they always have a comp, a realistic comp. And they said that they saw Bronny James's comp as DeAnthony Melton. And when you put it that way, if he can be DeAnthony Melton,
I mean, yeah, but
it's a shame his last name is James because everybody wants a DeAnthony Melton in the second round.
Sure, but I just don't know that I've seen enough out of him to believe they'll even be that. Like,
have you seen anything?
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Nobody watched any USC games. They were terrible
because there was no reason
he had a
to
heart
watch
attack in the offseason.
It feels like it just feels like if he was doing enough to put USC basketball on the map, then sure, I'd take a flyer on him.
Right.
But he just wasn't good on a bad team.
Yeah.
He wasn't good on a bad team. He's done nothing to show me that he's going to be capable of playing at the next level.
Right. Right. And so that's my thoughts on it. I think it's risky, but if you're the Lakers and you're doing this for the right reason, I will commend you. But if you just want him if you just want him to be LeBron's coach, Dan Hurley just needs to stay in stores.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like there's been a lot of trade rumors, right? A lot of things flying around last week involving our Memphis Grizzlies, and it's only going to get hotter as we get closer to the draft in 2 weeks. And so there's been a lot of rumors around Mikal Bridges being one that's going to be moved, and Houston is looking more and more like they're going to get involved. And there's been some trade rumors where it's like, where there's a 3-team deal with Brooklyn and Houston and the Grizz to get the Grizz up to the 3rd pick. The Nets get a ton of comp and picks and some young talent from the Grizz. I've seen it as much as Brandon Clark, Zaire, and Santi. One had Gigi in the trade, which,
that was the one. I don't know. That was the one. I believe it was Matt Hurdler could put that out. He used to be with the Memphis Flyer. I'm not really sure where he's at now, but he loves the trade machine. And I think in that scenario, we were getting Mikal Bridges. And we were giving up. We weren't losing him to move up 6 spots in the draft. We were moving him to get Mikal Bridges.
And so that was kind of like a twofold question. One, I'm tired of watching Grizzlies go play for the Rockets, but Marcus Smart to Houston is a trade that I've seen a ton, right? Because they've got Dylan and Steven already. Why not add Marcus to it? So twofold question. Thoughts on the trade that moves us up to number 3 that gets us Donovan Clingan? Because that's more likely to happen than us getting Mikal Bridges. And then kind of a part B to that, outside, obviously there are 3 people who are untouchable in the Grizz. Ja, Dez, and Jaren. Those are our 3 untouchables. Would you consider anybody else to be truly untouchable with some of the young talent that we have?
Everything is in relation to what the deal is. I can sit back. If you give me a deal, I could tell you, I'd do it. I would give up Gigi Jackson to get Mikal Bridges. Yes, I think I'd do that in a heartbeat. Mikal Bridges never misses any games, and he's always amazing. I mean, Gigi projects to be amazing, but Mikal Bridges is amazing. We know it.
There's a body of work here.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as trading up to the 3rd pick, I don't know. I mean, you've got to be absolutely convinced that that's the guy that
Clingan is the guy.
That Clingan is the guy, or whoever. I mean, this is the Grizzlies here. We never saw Zaire Williams but they knew that was their guy, Or actually, I think Josh Giddey was their guy, but Franz Wagner was their guy.
Josh Giddey, good Lord.
He got picked 9. But I just think that if you're absolutely convinced and that there's no one else that you want, you've surveyed the league, there's no better deal, and that you want, we're talking Donovan Clingan, and you've got to go all the way up to 3 to get him, then that's fine. I just don't think they're going to do that. I don't.
It's not in our history.
But it's not that. And I said this on Luke's show Tuesday. The Grizzlies are going from one of the bottom salary teams, young players, rookie contracts. This year, they're going to be the 8th highest salary team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that jump from the 9th pick to the 3rd pick is a significant salary for a rookie. And I mean, it's like the expectations are there. You're going to have to play. You're going to have to depend on him, and he's going to cost you a lot more money. So that's why I said they're going to have to be convinced that Donovan Clingan is their guy. Now,
100%.
I think that a lot of teams in this draft love this draft, despite the fact, I think that Atlanta is probably upset that this is the draft they got number 1. Because I think a lot more, nobody's convinced there's a number 1 guy there. But there's a lot of players within that, 3 to 10 range that could fit in a lot of situations. It could be role players for a long time. Yeah. And so given that, I think it's more likely that if the Grizzlies move up, they move up to like 7 or 6. Yeah. And then they get their guy, they they like the most at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that they're moving up to 3 for Klingon. You know, he's just too expensive. And
what I'm hoping for, if you check out BluffCityMedia.co, I wrote a draft profile this week of one Khalil Ware from Indiana, and he's got a lot of hype this week. So I don't want my article to get blasted at that. I'm going to carefully put this out there. And I was telling Drew yesterday, I need to go back and crop it because I mentioned him a few weeks ago when we first started talking about the draft, that Khalil Ware was one I was going to watch because I like the athletic big man from Indiana. He plays new basketball. He's like a new age center, like a bigger Jaren, because he's taller than Jaren, got a bigger wingspan. I wrote an article about it, and the more I researched it, the more he checks a lot of boxes of what we need. Like, averaged almost a double-double last year in the Big Ten. He had 9.9 rebounds a game. Like, he does a lot of things really well. And we could probably get him at 9. You could also probably trade back and get him in that mid-teens. And so that's even a better salary. And that's what I wrote about in the article. As we're starting to have to pay these players, right? Like, we're paying a lot for our 3 stars. We also owe Marcus, Luke, and Jitty a lot of money. And so, like, there's a lot of big contracts at the top end of our payroll. Why not take a flyer on a guy that's going to cost you at most, like the average for the 9th pick is like $4.6 million a year, which in the NBA is not that much of a salary. And so if you feel that Khalil Ware is your guy at 9, take him at 9. If you feel like he's going to be there at 15 and, you know, the Knicks or somebody or the Mavericks are itching to move up to get, you know, Dalton Connect or Reed Shepherd and those aren't your guys, then you trade back and you get him even cheaper, around in the neighborhood of $2 million. I just think that there's several good centers that are going to be hitting free agency. Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks, probably won't be able to afford him, but there are some other guys. You know, do you take a 1-year rental on Andre Drummond and let him and Khalil Ware be your 2 post players and like slowly swap their minutes, right? Like Andre Drummond plays more at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, he's playing 8 to 12 minutes a game, and you got Khalil Ware running the floor all night. I think there are options. Everybody talked about this as a weak draft, and it might be. But I think you're right. There's a lot of good role players in this draft. There's no stars like we had with Wemby last year, like we're probably going to have next year. But there's some good role players. And that's all the Grizzlies really need as a center. We don't need another star. That's what I'm talking about in the article. We've got 3 stars already and then 2 on the bench in the making in Vince and Gigi. We don't need a guy that's going to come in and give you 25, 30 points a night and put up Wemby numbers. We need a guy that's going to give you 8, 10, 12 rebounds a night, put back bunnies, dunks at the rim.
Work well in the offense.
That's it. And Khalil Ware was a great pick and roll player at Indiana. He finished at the rim over 74% of the time. So 74% of his offensive game is at the rim, which is what we need, is somebody at the rim, finishing putbacks and getting rebounds, that sort of thing. He averaged almost 2 blocks a game, so he's a rim protector. I mean, he's a freakish athlete. He was one of the fastest big men in the draft at the combine. He checks a lot of boxes for me, and you could get him a lot cheaper than what it's going to cost you in draft picks, players, and salary to trade up and get a Donovan Klingon.
Yeah, I just looked at this, and this was the 23-24 rookie pay scale. So this would have been last year's. The number 3 pick started out in year 1 was making $8.1 million, and in year 3, the last year of his contract, the last year that your guaranteed money is just shy of $9 million a year. The 9th pick started at $4.6 million and ended at 5.1. So literally cutting it in half.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you can go get a guy that fits what you need, like a Khalil Ware, and again, I've been high on this guy for a few weeks, researched him, so I'm a little bit biased. I think he could be a great fit. If you could get him for $4.6 million at that 9th pick, dang, I mean, go do it, man.
Yeah. And at the 9th pick, if you just stay there and these guys aren't there, then trade back or go get you a wing. You can go, there's chances are you're going to miss out on Reed Shepherd. Like, I would love to have Reed Shepherd. Man, not much would make me happier than getting Reed Shepherd. I think he's got the most desirable skill in basketball, and he does it at a better rate than any basketball player in the draft. And he can shoot and he can get his shot. And he made about 50% of them at Kentucky. Love to have Reed Shepherd. He's not going to be there at 9. But you can go get like a Devin Carter, a big wing, athletic,
like
hard-nosed defender. You could get somebody like that at the 9th pick, probably. And
Dalton Connect might still be there. And, I mean, he's another guy that can fill it up.
I do not want Dalton Connect.
Because of the obnoxious Tennessee fans? Or
No, I could deal with them because at that point we'd be cheering for the same team, at least for him. I just don't really want a 24-year-old white guy who did not look athletically superior in the NCAA tournament.
That's fair.
And this is the most athletic league in sports.
We already have that. We have Dalton Connect at home, and his name is Jake LaRavia.
He's more athletic than LaRavia. But anyways, I think you've got a lot of options here at this point in the draft, and you've got an opportunity to do it forward thinking with money in mind, because if down the road the NBA has structured these aprons to where you can't do what Golden State did anymore. They've made it impossible to home grow yourself to having multiple just via the draft and being a really good executive and developer of talent. You are no longer able to hold on to all of those anymore because the top end players are making so much money that the salary cap, you just don't have enough money to pay 4 of them,
Right. And so I'm just looking at that.
To find a way.
I was just looking at that. So, like, in an ideal scenario for me, and you may ridicule me, and that's fine, but I would love to see something like Grizzlies draft Khalil Ware at 9 for a $4.5 million contract. Things are souring in Cleveland. Jared Allen could possibly be available, but for me, he's a hefty salary, but you could almost pair like a Marcus Smart and a couple second-round picks for Brook Lopez in Milwaukee, because they don't have any draft coming up. They don't have any kind of capital coming up, for them to rebuild this team, and it's volatile there. Doc came in and barely made 500. You got Dame, you got Giannis. Dame is getting older. Giannis is not happy with the situation, injury prone. Does Milwaukee look to blow it up a little bit? He commands about $23 million next year, $23 million cap hit. So it'd have to be like Marcus's contract's about 21. So it would be kind of a similar swap. For me, that would work. Because then you've got Brook Lopez, who's a weird dude, but he's a rebounder, rim protector. He's been in the DPOY conversation and could be another great mentor.
Weird as his brother.
Very true.
Robin's the weird one.
Who was reading a book the night he got traded from Chicago or wherever he was, Toronto. But do you go get a guy like that? Like, I like Brook Lopez and what he does, and he could be a great mentor. And he could be a guy that gives you some minutes and gives you some early season, time while you figure out what you have in a rookie center like Khalil Ware.
Let me tell you, if you got an opportunity to go get Brook Lopez, you go get Brook Lopez. I love Brook Lopez. I just don't think that a Marcus Smart in seconds is going to get Brook Lopez away from Milwaukee. You have to be a little bit more aggressive than that, I would think. Now,
his do a first round next year.
So he signed a 2-year, $48 million contract. Okay, so he's an expiring, basically. Is the way I read it.
Yeah, they've got bird rights.
Yeah, and so maybe then, but I just feel like you're gonna. I don't really know what Milwaukee's incentive. I don't know if they want Marcus alongside Dame and Giannis as their
maybe. What about Toronto? Toronto's got another big that I like, and Kelly Olynyk, and they're another team. He's on an expiring deal. Is that Olynyk a guy that you'd be interested in going and get with maybe like either Marcus and Luke? Let me see, because I don't know.
So this is the way I look at it. It's like, you can do this one of two ways. You go make a big deal for a guy like Jared Allen or Nick Claxton. I don't like either of them, if I'm being honest with you. I really don't like Jared Allen. He's really soured on me lately. Or you go the route that you're outlining, and it is with the 9th or the 5th or the 7th or the 11th, whatever pick you end up with, taking Khalil Ware or a big guy. And then you go get somebody along the edges like a Jakob Portal or a Kelly Olynyk or Andre Drummond, those kind of guys that are, have a variety of different assets, but they're pretty much all one-trick ponies. Olynyk can stretch a little bit. Drummond's going to rebound his tail off, one or the other. You pick which one you want,
So Olynyk's contract's only $12.5 million for next year. So it's a much more friendly one to absorb, and they're the 19th pick.
So with Olynyk, with it only being $12 million, you start looking at contracts. If you send Marcus Smart in a Olynyk trade, which I don't think you would, you've always got to make that money work. And Marcus Smart's making 20, so you'd have to take Olynyk plus $8 million of Toronto's salary. That's when you look at something like a Jitty contract, or
So Jitty's 6 seasons. Jitty's just over 6. Zaire's just over 6, and so do you put those two together and do a pick swap?
What's Kennard?
He's around $20 million. He's he's pretty close to Marcus's money. I'll look it up real quick while we're talking about it.
Year. So what makes Kennard, attain or gettable, I guess, is that it's a 1 year deal. It's expiring. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So so
Kennard is $14.7 million next year. So that's a little bit off. So that one works. You could do a Luke Kennard for Kelly Olynyk almost straight up and just swap the money. Or do you do a pick swap then and then move back in the first round if you think Khalil Ware or whoever your guy is going to be, maybe Devin Carter, like whoever's going to be there at 19, you make that pick swap and then move back. Like that's something that we've done before. But I don't think you have to because the money works.
I don't think that they're going to move back if the guy that they want is there. I think they move back if they have no better options. And
shoot, if you come to me and you say we will trade you Kelly Olynyk for Luke Kennard straight up, you draft Khalil Ware, I would do that. I would do that right now. We've got guys that do what Luke do.
Kelly Olynyk. I don't think I'd do it. Not for Kelly Olynyk.
If you disagree, agree, put in the comments. Let us know here on YouTube.
Yeah, get in our Instagram DMs or our Twitter DMs. We'd like to hear what you say. But we've got today, as you're listening to this, is the 7th of June. That means we have 19 days to the NBA draft that is scheduled for June the 26th. Cannot wait. The first round will be on first night. Second round will be on a separate night the next night this year. I cannot wait for it. I can tell you with almost certainty that the Grizzlies are going to be super active. I believe that there's a reason why you are hearing their names in a lot of potential things with a lot of different teams, is that everybody's just kind of jabbing at each other right now, seeing what's out there, seeing what might be available, trying to wrap their head around potential deals on draft night. And so whereas I don't necessarily buy that one deal that you've heard is actually on the table, like I don't necessarily think that the Grizzlies should be the favorite to take the number 3 pick. Like I don't think that, but it does show me that they're being active and they're talking and they're talking with lots of different teams. And so I do believe that the Grizzlies are going to be active. I do believe that they will pick at least 1 or 2 players, and they'll probably move 1 or 2 players on draft night. So stay tuned for that. I'm really
last thing about the NBA before we take our final commercial break. Thank y'all for bearing with us again. Like we said at the top of the show, we can get long-winded, so here we are coming up on an hour. But last thing, I just tweeted it out from that you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen, @2bucks_BCM. Go to our Twitter. Let us know what you think. Drew, we talked a couple weeks ago about the best throwback jerseys in the NFL. The Jazz are going a little bit of throwback with their rebranding. They're bringing back the mountains and the purple and white jerseys from the Stockton Malone era. I personally like the look more than the new age they've been going with the black and yellow. Let us know what your thoughts are. There's 2 purples, there's a white, and there's a black jersey. Let us know what your thoughts are on Twitter. I just tweeted out from @2bucks_BCM on Twitter.
I love them. I love those jerseys.
Huge fan.
And it really makes me a little bit sad because they did the throwbacks, but then they're going back to them as full-time jerseys. That is going to be their jerseys
I love it.
For the next 2 seasons. They said at least 2 seasons. And it really makes me wish that the Grizzlies would have done that with those Vancouver jerseys. Like,
did you see
and leave them?
Did you see what our city edition for next year? You, as an Ole Miss fan, you'll appreciate this. Did you see it? Yeah, they leaked a list. There's not a picture, but said the Grizzlies are going to have red lettering with baby blue jerseys.
They're going to go like Chicks themed.
Either Chicks or like Chicks is what my first thought, or a play on the Memphis Sounds that we had a few years ago with the red and white. And as a fan of powder blue and red, Anthony Sane tweeted it out and said that John's going to break the internet in jersey sales once again. My goodness. Yeah. So you get that red and Beale Street blue. But yeah, we'll go to our last commercial break. We've got a little bit more sports topics on the other side. Stick with us. If you're here at an hour and 1, might as well be here at an hour 15 when we wrap it up. We'll see you on the other side of the commercial break.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man to say, this is how we think we're gonna play you, bang, 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 and hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game. Right. All of us, to the last person on the bench, you got an ego, but all of us can't be the man. Yeah, you got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly what. And if I'm out there doing it, and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping his logo. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. All right, Christian.
Yes.
You are Penny Hardaway.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Today, you're going to play act. Okay? Gabe, because you're a Jordan Brown apologist, you're going to be Jordan Brown.
I'm a Jordan Brown apologist. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Y'all are sitting across the room from each other.
I said, don't tweet him hate. And he's like, you're an apologist. Like, good God. But either way, continue. We're in a room together.
Why did things break down?
Jordan, we brought you in this year to be the centerpiece of our offense. You came in out of shape. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. We play fast. Told you this when we were recruiting you. We play fast. One of the fastest paces in the country. You have to be able to get up and down the floor. You have failed at that.
Oh, well, I'm leaving. So it's fine.
Cool. Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of the $2 Sports Show. Don't look now, but Luka is doing Luka things and has the Maps back within 8 with 27 points. There's 4.5 minutes to go in the third. Luka doing Luka things. But before we get into anything else, I did want to talk about one more jersey that got released today. I also just tweeted that out from the $2 Sports Show account on Twitter. The Icy Watts. Another Game of Thrones reference. Drew Maggie, you're welcome. Winter is coming. The Vikings dropped an all-white uniform, and I am pro all-white uniforms. These things are clean, man. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, in Mississippi, being from Mississippi, you got to be careful that saying that you love all-white uniforms. Check your past there.
Whoa.
What are you trying to say, Rusty?
It's a family-friendly show. I'm talking about Icy White football jerseys. My boy here goes is a fan. Only one of us is a fan of the Ole Miss Rebels, and that's all I'm going to say about that. We're talking about the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm with you. I love an all-white uniform. One of my favorite Saints uniforms that they've ever rolled out was the color rush. They didn't screw up the color rush like so many teams did. They just went all white with a white helmet, or they did a gold helmet. But the Minnesota Vikings come in with the white helmet with the purple. It's really clean.
It's got really a silver stripe down the pants. Like it is a clean white jersey. I cannot wait to watch them rock those things, man. Those things look so good.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They've got to give us a reason to watch them because J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold isn't going to do it for me.
Listen, man, you're not wrong, but J.J. McCarthy might have the easiest job in the NFL after what they just paid Justin Jefferson. It is literally drop back, find 18. That's all you got to do.
I laughed so hard every time that there's a new highest paid player in the NFL because no doubt Fast Break Breakfast, an NBA podcast that everybody should listen to after you listen to ours.
100%.
He always, Keith Parrish, always tweets out the NBA equivalent to that money. And he's like, oh my goodness, he's getting Jordan Poole money. So, $140 million, a new highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And no one deserves it more. I mean,
you're not wrong. And the thing, he got $88 million upfront guaranteed. Like, he literally, with the ink hadn't dried yet, and they handed him an $88 million check, which is just unbelievable money for an NFL player. It should be.
Taxes do you think comes out of an $88 million direct deposit?
It's interesting, right? Because like you've got like he lives in like I don't know where he lives, but you got to pay tax in all the cities that you play in. Minnesota hasn't played overseas, so they don't have any international taxes they have to pay. They have to pay their.
They don't just pay Minnesota income tax.
So no, Drew. Like if I lived in Memphis and worked in Mississippi, then I would have to pay income tax on the money I made in Mississippi for Tennessee. So like. Tennessee doesn't have a state income tax. So if I work in Mississippi, I'll pay Mississippi income tax. Now I'll get that back in April.
Right.
But I'm paying it all along.
If he goes plays a game in California, he doesn't get taxed California tax for 1 week.
Yes,
really?
He does. Yes, because he worked in California that week. He worked in Washington. He works in Illinois. They get taxed for the individual states. Dude, look it up. These NBA players have to pay when they go play at Toronto, when they're playing in Mexico City and London, and then the Eagles and Packers are playing in Brazil. Look it up. They pay taxes on that. Then they have to pay their agent. Then they have all these other fees. So it ain't $88 million that he's getting.
No. But I was thinking like, if you win the lottery, you virtually get half. I think it's more than half. And I think if you do live in Texas and get a $140 million contract, you're keeping a lot more of it than you are in Minnesota. And
I'm looking it up
for an NBA player.
I know I'm right about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey,
NFL players they have a jock tax, which imposes income tax in every state they play in. That can lead to several $1 million in additional taxes. It's called a jock tax.
Yeah, but
you have to pay taxes. You pay income tax for each city that you play in or each state. Yeah. They're taxed not only by their state of residence, but also by the states they play in and certain cities where they earn their income. Yeah. Uncle Sam's going to get his portion, man.
Are located in Minnesota. The same company. It's not like he's going and playing for the Chargers for a week. He's still playing for Minnesota in LA.
Uncle Sam's going to get his portion.
This is not what we decided to talk about.
But we're free-range humans living on a tax farm, and that's a whole other podcast episode. But I will digress. Love the uniforms.
Get rid of income tax.
They look good. That's it. It's taxation is theft anyway. But again, I hadn't had enough whiskey to really go down that trail. But we got new jerseys coming. It's going to be awesome. Also, USA dominates everything. We are both fans of laundry. We root for laundry. This is the official USA Cricket account for Bluff City Media. We're officially cricket fans because today we took a bunch of engineers and teachers and lawyers and went and dominated multi-champion Pakistan in a sport that I don't even understand. All I know is we were down by 18. We needed 12 runs on 1 out, and somehow we got it. And we won today. In Pakistan. It's called cricket. And so this is the tweet. This is what got me right here. It says
we fought a war. We fought a war not to worry about those European games.
Today, June the 6th, D-Day. But the USA stunned Pakistan at the men's top T20 Cricket World Cup, whatever that is. One of the biggest upsets in the sport's history. Our top player, his full-time job is the principal engineer at Oracle. And this tweet got me today. And it says, nothing brings out my American chauvinism more than stuff like this. Your star players are household names, celebrities in their country. Ours have day jobs, and most of our country is only vaguely aware of the sport exists, and we still won. #USA.
I was listening to a podcast one time, and they said that the highest followed Instagram athlete in the world is a cricket player.
Well, if you go back to one of the original 2 Buck Sports pod episodes, way back on Spotify, way back on YouTube, probably about a year ago, I asked you, Drew, what are the most watched sporting events in the world on television? Number 2 was the World Cup, and number 1 was cricket. And USA won today, beating the Pakistan team. So let's go, baby. USA, USA.
Yeah, so I could not care less about cricket based on one fact about this game. And it, as an American, especially, and as a younger American, I feel like I'm in the younger demographic. everything about our sports viewing experience and all the legislation that's come down from the commissioner's office down for the last decade has always been about shortening games. Baseball's done it. Football's tried to do it. Every game has been trying to match our attention spans that are decreasing as
with
the
more
minute
commercials
goes by.
Less game.
I heard that cricket matches can go for 2 days. I'm not doing it. I won't even start a Netflix series if I see that it's got like 8 seasons. Like, it's just too daunting of a task. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm just not going to do it. Like, you think I have a heart attack over an Ole Miss football game that lasts 3.5 hours once a week. You think I'm going to watch cricket for 2 days? I'd die.
Yeah, man. And then when they show these Sports Center plays, like they'll dive and make a barehanded catch. I'm like, I've seen like my drunk uncle do that playing wiffle ball. Like, you don't impress me.
It kind of has been a trending kind of meme this week that somebody erroneously tweeted out that if Americans paid any attention to cricket, they would realize that all of their sports are stupid. And then everybody started tweeting out every web gem over the last 50 years. Yeah. And they were like, see a cricket player do this. Like every backhanded double play, bounce pass, like everything. Yeah. Every throw from right field to get a runner at third base. Like, see every cricket player do this. Yeah. And so, American dominance is real. American arrogance is real. And I'm one of them. So keep your cricket over there with your soccer, okay?
But just know, if you invite us to play, USA is going to win. We ain't coming to lose. We ain't playing for second place, Bubba.
No. Don't invite us to the party because we're going to shut her down.
That's it. We're going to come to your crib and take over your crib. But speaking of playing for second place, the last thing we'll talk about on the $2 Sports Show this week is we'll put a bow on what was an abysmal college baseball season for the two teams we root for. Drew, I will concede the floor and let you go first.
Yeah, since my team was worse. So we just wanted to kind of wrap up, put a bow on it. We won't talk about this really again until next February. And so where Ole Miss going into the season, we had a really bad season in 2023 after, while trying to defend our College World Series championship. I was really bad. You stocked the cupboard with transfer portal guys, most of them from lower conferences, definitely from lower programs. The best college that I think any of our transfers came over from was Duke, and we had one pitcher from Coastal Carolina. The rest of them were just from lower schools. And what ended up being to the Ole Miss's detriment is that none of them really translated to SEC ball. It's a real flaw, a real glitch in the system that Mike has got to figure out, because the guys like Tommy Tanks, I don't even know his real
Tommy
name.
White. Tommy
White at LSU. He plays his freshman year at NC State. Well, everybody wants him. And so if you're not able to get that guy, you've really got to try to capitalize on the guys that are in low mid-major programs and hope that the numbers and the statistics stay the same or get better against better competition. And they just struck out basically across the board. Andrew Fisher had a fine year at third base. He was the Duke transfer. I take that back. He had a terrible year at third base. A throw across the diamond was like he was trying to play cricket for the first time. He just couldn't do it. He had no idea how to hit the wickets. But his bat was good. He hit 20 home runs. He was fine. But everybody else just kind of swung and missed, man. The number one portal guy that we had coming in, ranked on D1 Baseball the highest, a guy named Trayson Hughes, didn't even see the field towards the end of the year. He just lost his spot. The first baseman that we got from Florida Atlantic, Jackson Ross, he started the year great, but he was a liability at first base. He ended up playing right field. And so just nothing fell into place. You lost another Friday night starter for the second year in a row. You've got your two aces that you had the last 2 years. Neither of them played this year because of a Tommy John surgery. But bigger picture, for Ole Miss, it's kind of turmoil, and they're doing the thing that we've talked about on this show. I've talked about for a long time. You've got one chance to kind of blame the coaches, and you restart. Well, Mike Bianco was told, like, hey, for the first time, year 25 will be the first year that you're going to have a pitching coach. I know you're a former catcher. I know that you've been calling pitches for 24 years here at Ole Miss. You've won a College World Series. You've been at, a half dozen super regionals. You've been to Omaha twice. You're doing it. You're getting a pitching coach. This is not working out. And so they're scouring. I think they're going to go the same route as Texas A&M went. If you paid attention to Texas A&M's pitching coach, he's been really, really good this year. But he came from the minor leagues. He was a minor league pitching coordinator where he was over, say, single A, double A, triple A. Like, he had all the teams. He was coordinating all the pitchers with all the different levels of minor league baseball for the Seattle Mariners. He was really good. So I think that's where Ole Miss is looking at. I don't think they're going to go get somebody off the bench at an SEC school or do what Mississippi State did and go get South Carolina's pitching coach. And so they've told him, like, hey, you're getting a pitching coach, which means that there's going to be some shuffle there between assistant coaches because you can only have 2 on the field coaches or 3 on the field coaches. Mm-hmm. They were just able to get a third assistant a couple of years ago. So one of these guys, 2 of them, Lafferty and Carl Lafferty and I put this season out of my head, but they've been with Mike at Ole Miss forever. So one of them is going to have to be relegated to like an off the field role recruiting guy, which is going to rock the boat a little bit, but they're giving him the opportunity to fix it. And I don't know that I'm totally against it. However, there is something new that's going on in college baseball and in college sports altogether that I think is influencing this as well. And it's something that's going to affect Mississippi State. It's going to affect everybody. And it's something that I thought about talking about last week. We just didn't have time. But we're going to have to start. Universities, it was deemed. Now, there's going to be appeals. It's going to be a long process. But it's on the table that in the future that they're going to have to start sharing revenue with players. Mm-hmm. Right or wrong, how you feel about the issue morally or, lawfully is irrelevant. It's probably going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so Mike Bianco has had like a $7 million buyout. And so maybe with that on the horizon, they did not want to pay it. They did not roll him over again, which means after next year, the buyout drops to like $3.5 million because he'll have 2 years left on his contract instead of 3. And so I think that may have came into picture. And the reason why I think that is because the stadium expansion that they've been banging the drum about, they've been raising money, they planned it, it was going to start this offseason. It's not. They've canned it. They are, for the foreseeable future, they have put a pin in that, put it on the shelf. And I think most of that is because they don't know how much money they're going to have 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see this a lot in college athletics. You're not going to see these coaches getting bought out of major contracts anymore without a sizable donation from a particular booster to cover the cost of it. You're just not going to have the money overhead, to pay off the overhead costs anymore, right, when part of the revenue is going to have to go to the players.
Yeah.
And so, to put a bow in
landscape.
To put a bow on Ole Miss, though, is an entirely disappointing season. If they would have fired Mike, they would have had reason to. I tend to be glad that they didn't. I want to give him – you think as a Mississippi State fan, it's like Ron Polk leaving. I grew up with the guy. Mm-hmm. I do have heartstrings. This is in a sport that used to be so familiar. The names or people that you would grow to love. You don't have that familiarity with players anymore with a transfer portal. And so Bianco is like the only familiar face you've had. And I'm not that far removed from watching him lift a College World Series trophy over his head, walk it into Swayze Field. Like, I'm not that far removed. I can't beat that drum and just say fire it. I just can't do it yet. I will after next year. I can promise you that. You give me a third year of this, then I think that I I will be on that bandwagon. But you've seen, to transition to your team, in the third year, you made drastic steps with the addition of a pitching coach, no less. You made massive steps. You were a 2 seed in a regional. You went to a game 7 or a game 6 in a regional on the road. And your words, not mine, you thought you should have been hosting anyways. So there is a path, but you've got to get on track, and you've got to do it right now, and you've got to do it with the hire of this pitching coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So great transition. I got a lot of complex feelings. I don't think Lemonis is the guy that's going to take us to the next level. I've been hard and fast about that all year. Yes, we made a regional. Yeah, we probably should have hosted one. We were a 2 seed. We were in it. It was 3-2 in the top of the ninth against a top 12 team in the country, a good Virginia team, and we had them against the ropes. Kyle Stevens was dealing. Then Gavin Black comes in and strikes out 3 out of 4. You make
Durangelo was in that game, the second game.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Durangelo was dealing. You bring in Gavin Black, strikes out 3 out of 4. You make a pitching change, and it just all goes to hell in a handbasket, for lack of a better term. It just blew up, which was kind of an epitome of the season, right? Lemonis has made some boneheaded decisions. My biggest thing is we're a Division I baseball program, an elite level one, and we can't even figure out how to run freaking bases. Why are we stealing Dakota Jordan with Hunter Hines at the plate, one of our best hitters, who's heating up and hit a home run the day before or earlier in the day, and you're going to steal second for it to be the third out of the inning and kill any momentum that you just got from Dakota's single? Just so many boneheaded decisions. I'll say it again. I don't think Lemonis is going to take us to the next step. I don't. Zach Selman has already came out and said he's our baseball coach for the foreseeable future. We're going to have to make some. And again, sure, we're 3 years removed. There was massive strides.
As his AD should. If he says anything other than I support him, he just needs to fire him.
Agreed. And so he'll be there next year. We've made massive strides. We're a much better baseball team. Our ERA dropped by 3 runs. And if you're not a college baseball fan, that's massive. That's a huge, huge step. Justin Parker needs to be the highest paid state employee in the state of Mississippi. I don't care what it is. That dude needs all the money.
Lane Kiffin's got something to say about
that. Chris Lemonis has got one more shot. They're going to Jake Gautreaux is not going to be our hitting coach next year. I mean, he just can't. Like, the team just, like, bats just went quiet at the worst time. Our 2 best hitters came into the regional 1 for 48. And that's awful. And a lot of that falls on hitting coaches. And so there's a lot of rumors that Gautreaux is not going to be there next year, that we're going to get a new hitting coach for next year. And I'm all for that. But this, like, you had a chance. You fired Scott Boxall and you got a new pitching coach. We always say you get one chance to fire your assistants. He's got one more shot to do that. If we're not hosting next year, then Lemonis has got to go, because, yes, we made strides. Yes, we were a better baseball team this year, but there were still so many boneheaded. We couldn't sweep Auburn. We couldn't sweep Missouri. We lost 2 out of 3 to a bad Ole Miss team. But then, like, it was frustrating because then you go take 2 out of 3 from Vanderbilt. You're toe-to-toe with A&M. You only win 1 game, but you lose 2 games by 1 friggin' run. You're beating Florida. You're going to take 2 out of 3
away from sweeping Florida.
From sweeping Florida. Yeah. And LSU, same thing. We took 2 out of 3 from them, but we were 2 outs away from sweeping LSU. And so it was a season of improvements, and I'm not satisfied, but I'm still not satisfied. There's still so many glaring holes that show me that Lemonis may not be the guy. His name has come up in the South Carolina gig to be the head coach in South Carolina. You know, where there's smoke, selfishly, I hope there's fire. I wouldn't hate it if he went to South Carolina. It's always nerve-wracking when you make a change like that. I wouldn't hate it if he went, but if he's there next year, we just need a new hitting coach, and we'll see what happens. We're going to find out what he's made of. We are losing so much next year. Dakota Jordan, gone. Amani Larry, gone. Hunter Hines is still up in the air, but Kyle Stephen, Durangelo, Hunter Hines is very likely gone. Kyle Stephen, gone. Durangelo, gone. Joe Powell, gone. Like, the only for sure confirmed guy that we know we've got coming back is David Mershon. He's kind of led that he's coming back to play shortstop. Bryce Chance, we don't know. He could transfer. He could be gone. Like, there's going to be a lot of turnover next year. We're going to find out what Lemonis is made of, because he's going to have to hit the portal very, very hard. He's going to have to develop very, very hard, because of our 9 starters, we only know of 1 that's very likely coming back, because Kohler at third base, gone. Catcher, Johnny Longs and Joe Powell, gone. Like, everybody's gone. So if Lamonis takes the team next year and hosts a regional, then by God, sign him up, extend him, because that's going to be a whale of a coaching job. I just don't think I have faith to do that. And so to tie a bow on it, yes, it was a season of improvement. We didn't improve as much as I hoped we would have. We had the talent to be like, we shouldn't, like with the talent that we had, we should have hosted a regional. This shouldn't have been in question. Too many boneheaded mistakes. We're one of the worst base running teams in the SEC. Our bats got cold towards the end of the year. We didn't do anything to change it. I don't love it. I wouldn't hate it if Lamonis was gone, but I understand if he's back next year.
I just think that this season for a Mississippi State fan should be just considered a smashing success. I mean, you were competitive. You went 17-13 in the SEC. Turned out your RPI wasn't any good because the teams that you scheduled turned out to be not very good. Now, you're right. You're 2 outs away from sweeping Florida. You're close to sweeping LSU. You're all this. But that's baseball, man. The best teams in the world lose. I mean, Arkansas, again, has lost a home regional. And it just happens. I mean, baseball happens sometimes. And to hold baseball, the weird, quirky sport that it is, and to hold that against Lamonis just kind of feels disingenuous to me.
And that's the thing, like from a guy
I don't know that it's his fault. He's the whipping boy, but I don't know that it's his fault.
But from a guy who watched 98% of the games this year, it felt like in a lot of those games, we made a bonehead. Like we pulled Gavin Black when he is absolutely just mowing down Virginia.
I know.
We steal Dakota Jordan. We make pinch runners. We make pinch hitters. Like we pull out Dakota Jordan, who's 4 for 5 against A&M for a new bat. Like, why are you pulling Dakota Jordan? And we lose the game. Like, so many coaching errors led to that. If you watch those games, that's my point. I'm frustrated. Yes, 17-13 is fantastic. Yes, we won 2 games in Hoover. That's a great improvement from not being there the last 2 years. You're right on all that. But if you watch the games, our biggest opponent this year was Mississippi State. Like we beat ourselves in most of those games. Shout out to Jack Caglione. He had a home run to beat us from Florida that is yet to land. That's on him. But like in the other game when we should have beat them, same thing. We stole third to get the third out. You never get the third out at third base. It's just so like there were so many coaching errors that could have been corrected, and that's my point of frustration with Lamonis. Yes, it was a year of improvement, but I also saw the same crap that makes Chris Lamonis a lemon as the head coach.
Well, I'm just going to put this out there, and you're losing everybody. There is a non-zero, maybe even a 50-50 shot that next year goes horribly for you guys because you just don't have the players. And you're going to look back at this year and just going to be like, that was fun. I probably should have enjoyed that a little bit more than I did.
Maybe, but I'm just tired of watching the same coaching mistakes that we've been making for the last 4 years.
It's our Taylor Jenkins argument. It's hard to win. You won a lot more than you lost, and you just came out of 2 seasons where you lost a lot more than you won. Like, enjoy the ride a little bit.
You're right. I'm going to look back in a couple months when I'm missing baseball and be like, yeah, it was more fun. But like, it just felt like it could have, like, it just, I feel like I'm like,
sure.
I got a meal, like I'm at a nice restaurant and they bring me a steak and it's this big. And I'm like, man, like, I'm still hungry. Like, there was like, I still wanted more,
there was still meat on the bone.
Exactly. And that's what's frustrating about it. Cause yes, like, again, I'm very grateful that we went toe to toe with Virginia until the top of the ninth in game 6. But it compare it.
Don't compare it to what ifs in this season. Compare it to what you thought about this team going into it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's my frustration with Ole Miss is that I kind of found a thread there that I could pull on to find a reason why Ole Miss might be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you brought in a bunch of people. You're still 1 year removed from a College World Series. You're still an A-list program in college baseball. I can pull this thread and get to a really successful outcome, and it didn't happen. And here you are. You were pessimistic going into the season. You ended the season the 17th team out of 16 to host a regional. And
again,
you had an entertaining season in which you enjoyed watching baseball. I didn't have that.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and there's still there's meat on the bone. And I put a positive on there. I put a positive on there. Justin Parker was amazing. An amazing pitching coach. Again, like for our listeners, to go from a 7+ ERA to 4 in SEC play is incredible. I mean, that's incredible.
And you're going to win more games than you lose if you have a team ERA of 4.
Yeah, 100%. That was a top 5 ERA after we were dead last baseball for 100 years in Starkville. And that was one of the worst ERAs we've ever had.
Well, me and you disagree on most things when it comes to college baseball. I hate your team, you hate my team, but let's come together as we end this podcast to unite as friends who hate Arkansas.
Yes, I love that, man. It couldn't happen to a better program, a better team. Like, ever since that ball dropped in the 9th inning of the College World Series, was that 4 or 5 years ago when they lost to Oregon State? Like, I love it. And Arkansas Twitter was in a full-on meltdown. Yeah, I've never enjoyed the social media app more than that night scrolling Arkansas.
It was
Twitter.
So funny. It's like 4th and 25. Arkansas fans always want to throw 4th and 25, the Hunter Henry heave, all that. Mm-hmm. And they always want to throw that in our face when Ole Miss football struggles or whatever. Yeah. And everybody else throws it at Arkansas when they struggle. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny that Arkansas fans were tweeting it out saying, maybe this was as good as it got for us. It was just like manna from the heavens, like nectar of the gods.
It was very much like that moment in Predator where Carl Lewis and Arnold Schwarzenegger grab hands, like Mississippi State Twitter and Ole Miss Twitter came together for one shining night and just eviscerated Arkansas. And I saw their regional participation ring more on Twitter that night than I have since Arkansas released it, and I freaking loved it, man. It was incredible.
It was I loved it.
Shout out Kansas State.
They had such an easy regional. Their 2 seed was La Tech.
Yeah.
And you compare that to Virginia, who had Mississippi State, or North Carolina had to go to a 7th game because they got LSU as the 2 seed.
I mean, Clemson had Coastal
Florida
Carolina.
had Oklahoma.
There's so many good ones. But right now, listen, man, E-Mall, every man a Wildcat, go Kansas State. I'm all in, baby.
I'm all in on Evansville. I want Evansville to win their super regional against Tennessee. I'm anti-SEC. I'm such a bad SEC fan.
I'm anti-Tennessee.
I'm rooting for whoever is playing Tennessee. If I'm picking an SEC team that I have to cheer for, go Cats, I guess.
Yeah, shout out Aaron Ivey. Would love them to win for Aaron Ivey. Other than that, not A&M because they got Braden Montgomery, and I wanted him to be in Starkville. I'm kind of the same way.
He should have been at Ole Miss.
It should have been at State. But Evansville, man, State swept them 3-0. That was a common opponent with ECU, and ECU went 0-2 against them. State went 3-0. But I digress. There are no refunds for what you hear on the 2 Buck Sports Show, Uncle Buck. It's been a great show as always. Hour and 34. But thank y'all for being here, man.
Yeah, man. You never get what you pay for, fellas. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Go Wildcats, I guess, and we'll see you here next week.
Thank you for listening to the 2 Buck Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider.